Hi, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. The board our meeting started earlier this evening, and we went directly into executive session for the purposes of discussing collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law. Is that right? I guess so. But to talk about contract negotiations. And so we've already said the pledge, and we've done roll call. And so now actually we'll just move directly to the approval of the agenda, and I don't believe we have any changes, so.
Okay. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as written.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. So again, welcome to the meeting. The next meeting of the Haldane Board of Education is a special meeting that's scheduled for Tuesday, April 16th via Zoom, and we're going to determine the time tonight. That's actually for the purpose of conducting the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES budget vote and trustee election. And then the next meeting after that is a workshop meeting that we will hold on Tuesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. here in the middle school, high school library. And let's see, the only other thing I really want to talk about is that petitions are available in the district office or by contacting Megan Shields, district clerk, for running for school board. Our annual budget meeting when we vote for the budget, and we'll be voting for Board of Education trustees is on May 21st, Tuesday. 2 positions are going to be up for election. Yeah. If anyone is interested in running for the board, please be in touch with me or anyone else, and you can get a packet from Megan. And in terms of my comments, I really only want to say I hope everyone had a really wonderful spring break, and welcome back.
Yeah, hopefully, if you're one who likes to be outdoors, you enjoyed spring break somewhere outside of this region. Because all it did was rain, and we had an earthquake. No, welcome back from spring break. It was great to see our staff. We've had some great weather since we've come back on campus, and quite an involved couple of days. So with the eclipse yesterday, which our kids, particularly our elementary students, had, I think, a great viewing experience thanks to our teachers, not just at the elementary level. Many of our secondary students I saw on campus towards the afternoon and through the eclipse. And I just wanted to acknowledge Ms. Jammond for getting eclipse glasses for so many of our kids, and see our kids wearing those. And I actually saw a first grader today who had quite the entrepreneurial spirit, was trying to sell his solar eclipse glasses now that he didn't need them anymore. So, 25 cents. No takers, as I said, on that. I also want to thank Deputy Tolvey. Today we had a lockdown drill, and we have lockdown drills every year. And I know that among discussion as a district emergency response team in Deputy Tolvey's work through the broader region, we really felt that we were at a point where we could just take that drill one step further. So part of our preparation is preparing at times that are less than ideal. So we facilitated today's lockdown drill during a passing period, which I would say is something that most districts avoid doing because of the inherent confusion that comes with what do I do if I'm in a hallway when this drill is being called. That being said, our students were outstanding, our staff was outstanding in facilitating students towards protected areas. We had a number of law enforcement and emergency responders who were on campus this afternoon just to observe how our process works. All said and done, the drill was about 12 minutes, which is pretty much what it takes us to do that drill in a regular circumstance, or as we had been practicing before. And great response from law enforcement and the emergency responders who were here, and I would say otherwise did not pose any significant disruption to the learning environment beyond what it normally would be when we do a lockdown drill. So we feel really good about it. We'll do our debrief in a couple of days because we always learn something when we're going through our drill procedures. And I just wanted to acknowledge and thank not only our faculty and staff, but also Deputy Tolvey, who really played the lead in facilitating today's drill. With that concludes my remarks.
Can you talk
Yeah,
a little bit about the notification structure for the drill,
Yeah,
which I think
so
was different this time?
It was very much different.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I learned some things,
Yeah, okay, good.
right? Because we learn things when we go through drills. So the notification structure from the school
Yeah, okay.
was, I think, consistent with what we've always done. We did want to raise a level of awareness among the community because there was going to be such a law enforcement presence or emergency responder presence on campus. So we had put out some notices with other school notices just indicating that we're going to have a drill on this date. Please be aware, law enforcement will be present more so than before. We also felt that given that it was happening during a passing period, we just wanted folks to be internally to be informed that we might be doing this during a time we usually don't do this. Outside of that, since the sheriff's office, or Deputy Tolvey as a liaison to the sheriff's office, was taking the lead on the drill, the sheriff's office began to issue some of their own communications related to the drill as well. And I would say that was happening outside of the school. So they have their own communication structures. It's my understanding, like, people got a phone call today. I didn't know there was the capability that the sheriff's office had to do such a thing. So it's learning on my part. But I would say that those communications occurred outside of communications that were coming from the school, and also we were not advised of what communication structure the sheriff's office would be implementing as it related to this drill. If
That actually just brings up a final little question. When a lockdown drill normally happens and Deputy Tolvey is not leading on it, who normally leads?
One of the administrators.
One of the administrators?
Yeah.
Okay.
We always have a point of someone on the lead
Okay.
when it comes to
Yeah.
our drills.
But it's not Deputy Tolvey.
He is a
necessarily.
participant.
He's a participant.
He's not always the lead.
Okay, cool.
And it's in recognition that not every school, you always have the SRO available.
Right, yeah.
Right. We hope the SRO is always available,
Right.
but they may not be. So the administration rotates who is leading
Okay.
the various drills that we do.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we are now moving into a special presentation. One of our budget presentations.
Yeah, so as we were reviewing this today, or the last 2 days, we don't, Catherine and I were talking about it, there is no new information that's presented in this, in what we had planned for this evening. So it's an overview of the revenue structure, which the board has already seen. It's an overview of the tax levy increase, which the board has always seen. And it elicited the question, well, why do we do this then? Because it's always one of our presentations. And our assumption is because typically the state budget is adopted by this particular time, that this could be, there could be additional aid that's received. There also could be, that could influence the levy. It could influence just decisions that are being made related to the budget. State budget has not been adopted yet. So there's been no changes to the information that we've already presented to the board. So I don't have it didn't make sense to present what has already been presented to you. I think the board's pretty familiar with the budget up to this point. At our next meeting, when you adopt the budget, I'll provide an overview similar to the one that's already been provided. So I thought it was just best to check in and see if there's any questions related to the budget from our board members based on the recommended budget that's been provided up to this point, and to go from there rather than present the same information again.
Have you received any communication from individuals who have expressed concern about our vehicles and purchasing the buses? And is that a conversation that's been ongoing, or one that's?
Not since we've recommended the budget, but I would say that over the course of this year, we've heard some concerns here, and there may have been a conversation or two that I've had with community members who've called me, just going off the top of my head, but not since the administration's recommended budget had come out. You're reminding me what I did include, and it's in executive content in board docs, but I'm happy to go through it in public at our next meeting, is our bus replacement schedule. That's something that the board had requested for us to consider as we continue to go through the study with Central Hudson for the anticipated cost of the electric vehicle conversion that we're doing, the feasibility study. So while it was not, as you know, for the audience, it was not our recommendation to replace the vehicles we're purchasing in this budget with electric vehicles. We are undergoing the feasibility study, and then we have the schedule now to anticipate when we'll have another opportunity to replace a diesel bus with an electric bus.
When is that coming out, the feasibility study?
They indicated that it would take anywhere between 6 and I think 8 months. We started in November. We just had an update from them, like a mid-project update, about a month ago, and I think it's going to be, roughly June by the time we're done, or they're done with the study.
The only other input from the community that I would just note is a while ago in February, we received the student petition, and actually I'll let the board know now, I'm actually meeting with the student who put that together on Monday morning. I just wanted to follow up with her. Actually, we have the signatures. I never knew exactly what they talked to students. I don't know exactly what students thought they were signing, and we have the signatures. But I thought it was I was impressed with the number of signatures that they got, and I thought that it was clear that they had thoughtfully engaged in wanting to express their thoughts about this, and so I thought it made sense to meet with a student leading that effort, which is, I believe, one of the student extracurricular groups. That's right. Yes, actually. Yeah, the environmental club, yeah.
This is a silly question. On the ballot, I can't remember. Does it say tax neutral anywhere on the propositions?
No,
I don't
it
think
doesn't,
the
right?
proposition is not in our,
Not on the ballot itself.
on the information we'll put together and provide to the community.
Yes,
We want
yes,
them to
yes,
be
yes,
well
yes.
informed about Proposition 2, which is tax neutral, and Proposition 3, which is the turf field replacement, which is also, it's tax neutral. There's no monies being levied for that.
Yeah, that was going to be, just for myself to remind, there are 3 props on the.
Correct.
Yeah, so the overall budget, the buses, which is bands and flopping debt, and then the
Correct.
turf field, which is.
Turf field with capital
Which we
reserve.
voted to move the money from repair to reserve, and now needs to be, okay. And those are both budget neutral, and I thought, that's a really good point. It's the marketing of those, making sure, communication, yeah, good.
And we have a few opportunities to communicate that, right? So one will be the letter that we write that's part of the budget newsletter that goes out right before the vote, which I'll start working on. We'll have, and then we will meet with our partners. And I mean, the other thing that we've talked about, and maybe we just want to think about it for the next meeting, is possibly, the one thing that occurs to me is for us just to be here early, but maybe before the first meeting in May, and
Open house.
yeah, yeah. So just to give people the chance to come and ask
That would
questions.
be separate from we had suggested or had been proposed that we might want to do some kind of a stop and chat of sorts that was a little bit more formalized, either on the blacktop or
I
in
think
town.
that's
right?
maybe yeah. I think I don't know exactly what we should do, but I think we should think of a couple of opportunities for that. I'm trying to think about why don't we come to the May 23rd meeting ready to sort of, we'll add that maybe as a discussion item, just to plan a couple of things that we can do. I'm not even sure exactly the best way to communicate about them, but because it's not something we've typically done. But I think it wouldn't hurt for us to try to do a couple of things.
Maybe if we sell Girl Scout cookies or offer them. I seem to have a lot in my house at present. So.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Benante. All right. Yes. So now we're moving to the first opportunity for communication from the public related to special presentations and agenda items. The Haldane Board of Education desires and values input from the entire school community. This first public comment session is reserved for comments on any special presentations or active agenda items. For those who wish to address the board, please sign in and state your name for the record. Please keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Disparaging remarks and discussions of district personnel are strongly discouraged. And although we would not engage in dialogue, please know that we're listening, and we'd ask you to leave your contact information with the district clerks so that Dr. Benante or myself can follow up with you right away. All right. So moving into information reports. So these are the reports that we'll act on at our May business meeting. Wow, May. This feels weird to say.
April. We've still got one coming up. Oh, we're going to act on the next
Yeah,
meeting.
no,
That's right.
I will act on them at the next
Yep.
meeting. I was just saying that it's in May.
Jeez.
And now then, we're at consent agenda minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And committee minutes. So we have the minutes from the Code of Conduct Committee and the minutes from the Policy Committee. And actually, we have some policies to act on later on. That basically just tells you the work that we've been doing. We're actually getting to the 700s in our review, which is sort of amazing. And then also the committee minutes from the district-wide safety team. Is there anything you want to say about any of those? All right, so those are there for all of us. Moving into consent agenda financial. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I see. Any opposed? No. And moving into consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything you,
I just wanted to mention to the board that previous report, I had mentioned the increased need for supporting our students who receive E&L services. We have a current part-time posting that remains active. However, we've been unable to secure a candidate for that position. So in the interim, there's 2 appointments here for a 6th period and then a separate 6th and 7th period assignment for 2 of our teachers. Less than ideal situation when we have our teachers particularly doing a 7th period assignment. That being said, Ms. Jennings and Ms. Ortiz are willing to provide the support that they can to the students that we have that need those services. So thank you to them for doing so. And we still have the posting open. So I don't think we'll have as much of an issue for what we expect to be the full-time position next year, obviously. But with the half-time position, that's something where we've had good candidates, but they're in full-time positions and a little unwilling to leave those positions for a part-time job. But good candidates for when it is posted, the full-time position is posted soon. So,
and
That's where we're
these are services that were required, I mean,
They are.
we
They're
would want
mandated
to,
services.
we would want to deliver them, but they are mandated
They are
services.
mandated
and
services.
So grateful to the teachers
Yep.
willing to do that. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and now moving into unfinished business, and so discussion about our agreement with Garrison about tuition.
yeah, so I'll start that. As the board's familiar, we currently engage in a 1-year agreement that's renewed annually with Garrison for what has been their 8th graders to come to Haldane or access Haldane as should they choose to. Garrison, Mr. Albano, the interim superintendent, has brought this up in the past and wanted to revisit this conversation of whether the board would be willing to engage in a 5-year commitment, which is an agreement similar to what they have with the other school districts with whom their kids have the option to choose to go to. That way we don't have to continue to revisit the item on an annual basis. It would secure for their students, going back as early as 5th grade, that Haldane is an option for you instead of students having to wait until 8th grade to formally know that Haldane's an option for you. So that's really the matter that's up for discussion and would require at some point the board to formally agree to. And I want to thank Mr. Schatt for being here this evening in case the board has any questions related to Garrison's and
Kind of chat a little bit through if you guys have
Sure.
questions about why it's so important to
appreciate that. So, board, yeah.
If it's okay, I think we'll start with a discussion first, and then, yeah. So I just want to remind people, so before a handful of years ago, this was something that we did decide with Garrison on a year-to-year basis, that the institution of the 5-year agreement or the request for the 5-year agreement is newer, and it's something that Garrison has engaged in with a couple of other districts. And it's interesting to me, the question of formalizing it, because I feel that historically Haldane has really, and continuing, Haldane is really demonstrating a deep commitment to partnering with and supporting Garrison, right? And I can't imagine that would, I can't imagine that would change in any way. And I definitely feel like the both formal and informal interactions between the districts really demonstrate that, with some examples of shared services being among them. So it's interesting to me, the idea to do this, because I would say, from a personal level, and I'll be interested to hear what other people, I can't imagine there being a circumstance where we wouldn't do that, but I guess I do also, so honestly, not opposed. To me, it feels kind of like a given that we would want to continue to partner with Garrison in this additional way.
I agree. I went through my notes about the various conversations we've had over the years, and when it was first brought up or proposed, I had noted early on that my chief consideration, a couple of things, but for me, initially, it was about how for special education students, there was a disparity in one way or another between our gen ed versus our special ed students, and that there would be no difference between the two, and which to me at the time felt, there was an equity issue there, because the fact of the matter is, if you have a special education student that requires extra support, ideally you would be providing that kind of support, and that would be necessary. Over the years, I think that we have come together with shared services in such a way that, I think our shared commitment to special education, I think we've demonstrated that, which in some ways has assuaged my concern about that. But that's my own, and also learning over time those students that do require those kind of special services and special, that might exceed, the 16.5 or whatever we come to, don't seem to elect to come to Haldane. We don't have a history of having students that require a tremendous amount of support to be here. So that's become less of a concern for me because of the cooperation that we're demonstrating. I do have a question about, and you might be able to address it, about the 5-year agreement. We've discussed different ways of approaching how that 5-year agreement might look. One would be we would agree to a fee, and that would increase in the same way that it's increasing over time with both the other two schools that Garrison students have the opportunity to choose. But it was brought up in our last meeting that we could reassess year to year what that means. And I'm curious then, if we are reassessing year to year, how is it a 5-year commitment? What happens if we reassess and we make some decision that, to not move forward?
So the conversation I've had with Mr. Albano has been around that point, because our yearly agreement allows for that, essentially, right? That if we have a feeling about tuition, which has been a significant point of discussion in the past, there's that space to discuss what a potential change to a tuition rate. What Mr. Albano has done is he provided 2 separate agreements as drafts, one of which, through their attorneys, they feel reflects a continued opportunity to have that discussion on an annual basis. What I think would have to happen before that was finalized is our attorney, Mr. Lambert, would reach out to the attorney for Garrison and discuss, having clarity around such a situation and language that's, clearly addresses that should it occur. Which would either we were to continue as we have been, which is an annual 2% increase to the tuition rate, or if our Seneca Falls rate were to fall lower, than what Garrison's currently paying, it would default to the Seneca Falls rate. That's what the agreement generally provides for. But yet we may desire to continue to see language that allows us to come back to the tuition rate that Haldane is charging. And if we couldn't agree to that tuition rate, then there would be language that would accommodate that, that would then say, well, in such a case, then this is the resolution to that, which I guess could range from Garrison students who are here remaining, because I don't think that would be something that would be a point of concern, or I think our board would want to accommodate. I'm just assuming that based on conversations we had 2 years ago, but potentially then not having an agreement for that particular class of students. So I don't know what that would look like in terms of the agreement, but I know our attorneys would have to work that out in a manner that was comfortable for both boards.
But it's more or less we'd be making a commitment to this 5-year agreement at a particular rate, unless some unforeseen
Correct.
thing occurs that
Correct.
requires us or a future board to come in conversation about.
I would assume it would be unforeseen.
Yeah.
Based on where we are now, but
Yeah.
if, again, you have
Right.
language related to that, boards change and
Right.
perspectives could change. Right.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Just to be candid.
Yeah. That's.
I think we, all right. I think we benefit from Garrison students coming here for any number of reasons. The fact that we have Garrison students coming here provides opportunities, greater set of opportunities for athletics, for class sizes, for performance, for a bunch of things. So our communities work well together. We collaborate on a lot of things. We have a lot of Garrison parents who are involved now in high school athletics and participating in a bunch of things. So I think it's great to be able to continue to have that opportunity. I understand the interest in from what I take to be, and I don't want to put words in Kent's mouth or the mouth of the board of Garrison, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to continue to be able to make sure that students at Garrison have guaranteed options into the future, and not be, that's A, to be able to continue to provide the benefit of being able to have school choice coming out. Totally get that as a value add for the Garrison School District. Totally get that. And to have consistency of cost over time. Totally get that. So I understand both sides. I'm not going to rehash a lot of the things that we've gone through before. So I think it is in the best interest of us to continue to have a relationship with Garrison. And if this is the least painful way for us to do it, then so be it.
Yeah, I think the point that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I think the point I was making, to me, it's just always been a given, right? It hasn't occurred to me that it needed to be formalized in this way. I feel like there's so many actions over recent and for, years past that really indicate, I think, Haldane's commitment to continue to partnering with Garrison in really, not just good faith, but the best of faith, right? And so, but if this is something that they feel is important, then I under those circumstances, I personally don't have an issue with it. I do like the idea of keeping open this option of, and this has always been the case, that there could be some circumstances in the future that could lead us to, come to a different determination about how about tuition that's different than what we've been doing over the past several years. And so under those circumstances, I like having that, but yeah.
I do. I like having the room. I mean, I think you all know how I feel about that, but we want Garrison kids here. We want this to be a place for them. I think we've demonstrated that.
Yeah.
I mean, not concessions, that's probably not the right word, but, we've met Garrison, I feel like, at every discussion, every step, so that we can continue to have those students become our students. But I don't think there's anything wrong in meeting every year and sort of having that negotiation to have the room if something happens. I think that term 5-year contract is just definitely for some community members, makes them, I mean, maybe it's an optics thing, but I just don't think it's that, the most fiscally responsible thing to say, in times, especially in weird economic times that we're in. So I like having the room to come back each year and, we're not going to pull the rug out. I think we've demonstrated that and charge the full rate.
Right. So the option that is that where we're stating what we feel like has sort of been our intent all along of the agreement for the 5 years, but with the opportunity to negotiate. Yeah.
To negotiate every year. So we're
Yeah.
not, entering into a.
Yeah. I'm actually open to having, if Kent wants to say something at this point. Yeah.
Come on up.
So we don't have any questions for you. Oh, you do? Oh, John does. So John, actually, you want to wait until the end?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me here. I mean, I am here representing Garrison, but this is my third trip to Haldane today, so I am part of the Haldane family as well. So, you guys have been great, and really appreciate all the work we've done together with shared services, and our team really can't thank you enough for that. And I think some of it, what you guys have discussed is all spot on. I mean, we're looking for budget consistency and long-term planning. Part of the situation we were in a couple of years ago is when we get out of COVID and we have transportation costs go up through the roof, we have healthcare costs go up through the roof. We're a really small district. So it's really difficult for us to handle unexpected blowout costs. And so tuition was also happening in the same way at that time with not locked in rates. So it's our desire to really try to, as much as possible, given who we are and our low tax rate that we have, it is what it is. We're getting almost no funding from the state now. We want to try to plan as much as we can for the future. As you know, with State Department of Education, we can't put things in reserve. You have to have a 4% reserve cap, and that's not very much in our budget. So really part of this 5-year locking in the rates is trying to make sure that we see out 5 years as much as possible what our anticipated costs are so we can be smart about it. And if we don't have it locked in, it just creates some challenges for us. And that's part of why we want to do it. I think the other thing is talking about the year-to-year negotiation. I would hope that if we're going to do that, we could at least build in some kind of cushion so that, say, my son is in 7th grade. He's planning on going to Haldane. But if it's a year-to-year negotiation, at what point can we tell him, yeah, you can go to Haldane? So what we would hope for is a little bit of if we're going to renegotiate or if we're going to have a 5-year deal with an opt-out, if you guys want to opt out for one reason or another, that there's a little bit of warning for our students that, I mean, they're playing modified sports together, they're hanging out, they're a community. They don't plan their high school choice the fall of their 8th grade year. They plan their high school choice much before that. So just a little bit of advance notice for our kids so that we can lock that in. Kids know what they want to do, that there's no conflicts, no tears, that kind of thing. That would also be very much appreciated.
Ken, is there is there any room and down the road in your budget to give us like a 60-90 baseball field on one of the Garrison to build that in? Maybe we would.
I am absolutely open to that proposition. Unfortunately, our field is half the time underwater, but I'm sure we can come to.
Ken, can you just talk a little bit about the process? Carl was explaining this to me. Your voters have to approve.
Any contract over 1 year and 364 days has to be approved by the voters.
And is this something you would plan to put on the ballot or have as a proposition for this May?
Yeah, we'd like to put it on this May.
And that doesn't mean the districts necessarily have to commit to it. You just have the authorization at that point for voters to do so.
2 questions. Can you talk about, where's Garrison? I know you're in budget season. Where's Garrison going long term? So we're talking about 5-year plan and revenue forecast, cost forecast. What does the future look like for Garrison from a fiscal perspective?
We're in a good spot this year.
Okay.
And partially because we were fortunate to get some grants. We're fortunate to get some COVID money that came in last year.
Yep.
And that's put us in a strong financial position for this budget season. We're in the middle of a long-term fiscal plan that's coming out at the end of the year. We're always going to have the challenges that we have, given who we are. We've tightened things down pretty well to the fact that now we have, in grade school, we only have 2 grades that have more than 1 cohort. In middle school, all the grades are in 1 cohort, with the exception of some advanced math and that kind of thing. So we're running pretty tight. And so that's part of why we also are trying to keep ourselves on track. But, we're never going to grow in a tremendous way. That's just not, our community doesn't have that many households to begin with. So we know kind of where we're going, we know who we are, and we're just trying to keep the ship straight based on that and try to plan as much as possible.
Sure. Have you done a demographic study?
We're also
I think
doing
you did
that, yeah.
Okay, all right, fine. And you mentioned the 4% carryover. Did you carry over 4% or did you carry over more?
We carried over more last year, yeah.
Okay, how did that happen, just from a fiscal perspective? How are you able
The
to do
COVID
that?
money. We got
Yeah.
a lot of COVID money.
Yeah.
We got some grants from the state, our
Yeah.
state senator.
Yeah.
So that's really a lot of what it happens. But again, the 4% for us is not a huge number.
Oh, no, I totally know. So, yeah, I think I remember it
When
being-
we get fortunate to get a $150,000 grant from our state senator, that makes a huge difference in our budget.
Right. Yeah.
That's really, I mean, yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted
No.
to say? Yeah.
It's all good.
I mean, so what I hear us saying is it's definitely like that. I hear no objections on the part of the board. I mean, to the idea of you all, putting this on as a proposition for us to have this kind of agreement. I mean, I do expect that it sounds, we don't need to make the decision now, but it
Right.
sounds like what we're hearing from Garrison is there'd like to be, some way. I mean, I'll be honest, I feel like we floated different options in the past about how to possibly,
Right.
cushion 1 year to the next. I can't imagine that we're opposed to considering that now, but I think the board has, remained really quite consistent in wanting to keep open the possibility of deviating from the agreement with Putnam Valley and Fort Montgomery, Highland Falls, and did I say that, Fort Montgomery? Yeah, and Highland Falls. And I would imagine that, that's going to stay the same, but again, at the same, and that's sort of where I started, like, we've always seen this as a as a long-term relationship. It was some of this other stuff that I think sort of introduced the possibility that wasn't the case, when I don't think might have caused that perception, but I don't think it reflects the reality at all. So I think it would be great, if that proposition makes sense to us, and I think we can continue the conversations.
Yeah, I think we're open to, if you guys have ideas, we're open to them. I mean, from our perspective, ideally, as you probably understand, we would love to have a similar deal with all three districts.
Sure, yes,
Just for
we understand that.
everything that we're doing, we value you all very much. You guys are a 100-year partner. Putnam Valley is a 1-year partner, but we don't want to treat each other differently. The schools are all great, and we're really happy to have them all. But if there are ideas that you have, certainly we're open to listen to them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll.
We have that question of, I don't know if we brought this up last time, I think we did, but, something that might make a longer-term contract more palatable is if there's a way to tweak the percentage increase, right? It's 2% now proposed in the contract. I mean, can we match that with what the increase of what our
I think it's
taxpayers have
in the
to pay?
contract, it says 2% or CPI.
Or CPI.
Whichever is less.
Right, whichever's less. So, but what our taxes, it would be, I think it would be more palatable to some community members if we could match that to what the increase in our taxes would be. Just to go back to that old argument.
So as an example, we expect, if it's approved, our levy increase next year to be 2.8%.
Right.
So tying it to something like that. I think we'd say 3 different districts, 3 different levy increases, right? That it would then create over time. 3
Yeah, I think the
different
intention with
costs.
the 2% was just the state 2% basic formula that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we're open to it, but I don't think there's anything else that we need to do at this
I
point.
think just if the spirit of this is structuring the contract language in a way that allows for a 5-year commitment, but also with language pertaining to keeping the option open to discussing a different tuition rate each year. I'll pass that along to Mike, our attorney, who can be in touch with Garrison's attorney, and then they can work out the language related to that.
I would be interested in some language that, I recall when the question came up previously, we had students who were currently here in the high school, and there was some there were moments in which we're talking about, well, do those students have to then find some other district that they need to go to? Some sort of language that protects the students who are in the district who have already, in the event of something like that, yeah.
I think the contract has that in there, that,
Yeah,
that once,
great.
once they start,
Great,
it's locked. and- Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and I think that's important to all of us. So, more to come, but you
All right.
have what you need now. Thanks so
Yeah,
much for
thank
coming.
you.
We
And
appreciate it.
congratulations on your superintendent appointment
thank
there.
you.
Oh, I didn't hear
Stoll
that.
is,
I didn't hear
wonderful,
that.
announced today. I
Oh, you
think.
know him, yeah, he's,
Yes, wonderful person. Did a lot of work together through COVID.
oh, yeah.
Yes, when he was in MAPAC.
Yeah,
so
no,
he's
we're
a
very excited.
Good person, just a quality individual.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a big undertaking.
Yes.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, so the next on our agenda is new business, starting with CSE, CPSE recommendations. May we have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendations of the Committees on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as presented.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And, right, so next is a policy review. The recommended action, please.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby waives the second readings and adopts the following Haldane Central School District policies as attached. 7241, which is student directory information, and 7350, corporal punishment, emergency interventions, which is renamed timeout and physical restraint.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
So yeah, so I mean, I think the policy committee minutes lay out pretty clear what we're doing. It's interesting, the corporal punishment, oh, this is a minor change this time for this, right? We adopted okay. So yes, this is a situation where we've made really minor changes, so we're foregoing the second reading. And yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. And so now, so as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, our next meeting is actually going to be a very short meeting for this, for the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES budget vote. And because it's a short meeting, and Megan and Dr. Benante are available during the day and don't necessarily need to stay
We're always
working.
available
I know
before.
you are always available. It seemed reasonable for us to find time when at least a quorum could meet for 10 minutes via Zoom. And it will be one of these Zoom meetings. It'll actually be a Zoom meeting where it meets all these qualifications that we recently enacted in our policy, for it to be an actual meeting. And so really it's just trying to find a time that day when we can all do this. So I'm pulling up my calendar right now.
I brought my wrong phone.
Oh, you brought your own
The
phone. So
incorrect
let's see if we can
phone.
get
Some
3 of us
grammarian out there is going
available.
to slap me. I brought the incorrect phone. So just set a time, and I will, for 10 minutes, I can get out of anything.
Do you have a burner phone?
I do have a burner phone.
Very
I'm
funny.
going to text you right now, dude.
Child's burner phone.
So I'm basically available from 9 to 1.
I'm
Do you all have a limited time? What?
We are available after 10.
Okay.
After 10.
So we're looking at 10 to 1. Scott,
That's good.
what?
Anytime in there.
I can do 10, like,
Okay.
if it's
We can do
10
10.
minutes.
Do you think you probably do 10?
Yeah,
10 o'clock.
Yeah, great.
I'm adding it, I'm blocking it out on my calendar right now. That was so efficient. It was actually sort of frightening.
If we had 10-minute retreats.
I get that, then it would be easy, I guess. That's why what happened. Okay, oh, shoot. Now I know I wanted to have my computer plugged in because I needed to pull up the document. So it's time for the end-of-year evaluations. We'll start with Dr. Benante. Oh, you are really...
Yeah. Read your mind.
Thank you so much. I remembered the first couple of dates. All right, so just reminding everybody the timeline for this, and I'll be following up. So by next Tuesday, Dr. Benante is going to share his written self-evaluation with us, right? So we'll get the Google Drive with the documents. I've actually built in a pretty nice amount of time for us to then, for each of us to write our own thoughts and evaluations. You all will share them with me by April 26th. I'll also send this in an email to follow up. And then I'll put those together and we will meet in executive session before the board meeting on Tuesday, May 7th. And then we'll meet with Phil before the meeting on the 21st.
May I make a request?
Yes, oh yeah, of course.
My initial date for having the materials to you is Tuesday, April 16th.
Yes.
I may need till the end of the week,
That's fine.
the Friday,
for me, yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah. And actually, I think that's fine because I don't imagine any of us are going to start working on it on
understand. Thank you.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's a good, thank you for
Appreciate it.
asking for that. I appreciate that. So, by like COB on Friday.
Yes.
Okay,
you.
perfect. And then, after that, we'll move into our own evaluation right after that. Our own end of year evaluation. All right.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Our own evaluation, ours,
The board
BOE?
self.
Yeah,
Oh, is
after.
that me?
That's you, Megan.
That will be you, but we have time. That'll be in June.
Okay.
That'll be in June.
Thought I had some time on that. I'm gonna write that down.
That will be in June. We'll have June. So actually, Maggie, you and I can chat about it because what we'll want to do is our last meeting is going to, I don't know, the third week in June. So we'll just want to, you and I can put together a timeline if you like.
Perfect,
Yeah, to make sure that happens before.
It will.
Didn't mean to toss that, to surprise you with that. Okay, so now we're actually at our second opportunity for communication from the public. Open on all school district matters? Nope. All right, anyone, board reflections? Anyone? I don't have anything.
I don't think I've stated publicly. I'm not going to run for reelection. I've done 2 terms. It's been fantastic. I would love to do another term, but I also think that 2 terms is enough, and that other people should participate and provide new voices and perspectives and all that sort of stuff. So it's been a great run, and I've really appreciated serving with all the members of the board, the administration, everything. But time for new people, which is a good thing. So.
A slow clap would be appropriate, but I will not initiate it. There you go, very nice. We'll wait on that. You're not a
You
lame
can call
duck
my
yet.
burner
You've got
phone.
some work to do yet. So.
All right. Okay, Dr. Benante?
Just want to start by thanking John for your service. It's
Absolutely.
been a pleasure. John started when I started. So,
Oh, is that right?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
so,
that's right. John wasn't part of the committee that
we started at the same
selected
time, so
Dr.
it's
Benante.
been, I agree. It's been a great ride. I don't think we've met since the high school musical. And I just wanted to acknowledge the students and their families and the staff members who were involved in the production. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it, as did it seem everybody who was around me. It's just an incredible performance by those who were involved, both on the stage and behind the stage. So I just wanted to congratulate our students.
And didn't it sell out all 3?
Sold out the night I was there, that's for sure. Yes, all 3.
Including the matinee, which is crazy.
It's not usually happens.
There's scalping going on in
There's
the Scalping
scalping.
local.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's incredible.
It really is, and it's one of like multiple events I feel like that I've been at this year when I realize that the district serves as such an important gathering place for so many people in the community. And for better or worse, it typically happens around extracurricular activities, but like there are really so many times when what's happening is really drawing together the whole community, and it's really great. Thank you for noting that. All right. So I move to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.